a film about the collapse of a thriving society, directed by legendary filmmaker Francis Ford Coppola, starring some of my favorite current actors like Adam Driver, Giancarlo Esposito, and Shia LaBeouf, along with legends like Dustin Hoffman, Jon Voight, Lawrence Fishburne, and Talia Shire. What could possibly go wrong? Megalopolis is a fable about New Rome, a city that strikingly resembles the New York of today. While the citizens grow weary of Mayor Cicero's insatiable desire for power, his daughter aligns with his rival, a charismatic yet troubled artist-inventor Caesar Catalina, who longs to turn their city into a utopia. As the two clash over ideology, family, jealousy, greed, and lies may be the undoing of not only their rule, but of their society as a whole. But despite all their differences, there may be a glimmer of hope for their future. Okay, Megalopolis is objectively a crazy movie. It is easily one of my most anticipated films this year, so it brings me no joy to admit this film is so poorly made, so incompetent in every aspect of filmmaking, I sincerely feel bad for every person that had a part in this production, in front and behind the camera. I mean, for heaven's sakes, Francis Ford Coppola literally changed how I perceive film. When I was a kid, I gravitated towards surface-level fun movies like Independence Day or Armageddon. There's nothing wrong with those movies, but when I was introduced to The Godfather, my perception completely shifted. That was the movie that made me realize, wait, movies can make me feel like this? And it was around the time AFI released their original list of the greatest 100 movies of all time. So I would go to my local Blockbuster or Hollywood Video and rent movies from that list. Movies like Casablanca, On the Waterfront, Vertigo, and so many more, because of the impact of The Godfather. Then, once you discover Coppola's next 3 films, The Conversation, The Godfather Part 2, and Apocalypse Now, are all masterpieces as well, it makes you start to wonder, how can someone so revolutionary create something so ineffectual as Megalopolis? Whether it's the perplexingly incongruent storyline, inept performances, dissonant score, or aimless visuals, one must wonder, okay, here is a guy who has nothing to prove. He has made 3 movies that can each be argued may be the greatest film ever made. Who else can relate to that? So maybe he's trying to prove that he can change the film industry again by doing something so bombastic that movie viewers will change what they expect and what they want from film. Maybe it's simply his age. Maybe no one dares to question his creation. But he has 2 kids that are currently directors. His daughter, Sophia, specifically, I think is amazing. Couldn't they give their father constructive criticism? And maybe it's his ego. I don't get that impression from him, even in his discussion preceding our screening. He seems like a cool dude that likes to make movies. Whatever is the cause, the result is perhaps the worst movie I have ever seen. Now, you may say, what about The Room or some other B movie? I'm not including those. I'm talking about a legitimate film with professional resources and talent. Let me provide some specifics. Megalopolis has some of the worst editing I've ever seen, both editing within the scenes and editing the various scenes together. For example, in a single scene of a conversation, one character may be sitting with their hand on their chin. Then when the camera cuts to a new angle, that same character is now standing with their arms to their sides. Now, this happens periodically in all films, and it kind of irks me when people point out those rare cases. But in Megalopolis, this is so frequent, it feels like a theme of the film, almost like some avant-garde space and reality doesn't exist. There's a moment where Chloe Finneman, known best for Saturday Night Live, she has a minor role, and in a scene near the end of the film, she clearly makes a mistake while delivering her line, starts back at the top of the scene, and re-delivers her line, and they kept it in the film like, yeah, that's our best take. There's another scene where a car is being followed, and we as an audience have no idea where this car is in reference to the other vehicle, so it took me until the end of the scene to even realize that the characters were being followed, much less experience any tension. This is something the TV show Better Call Saul can do to perfection with a fraction of the budget. In The Godfather, they created tension because the characters thought they may be followed by another car. The story is not compelling, completely illogical, and filled with uninteresting characters featuring performances that feel like they may be career-ending. Good actors, Adam Driver, up to this point, seems to consistently deliver brilliant, unique performances, even in some pretty bad films. But here, I honestly felt pity watching him desperately try to make sense of his character. None worse than a moment when he keeps shouting, "No, no, no," because he couldn't access his bank account. Jon Voight comes across like a Roman version of Mr. Sir from Holes, with a violent scene so absurd that our whole audience laughed inappropriately. Shoot, Dustin Hoffman. I think his performance in Kramer vs. Kramer may be my favorite individual performance of all time, and yet he comes across like he doesn't even know where he is or what he's supposed to pretend to be. But I think the person whose career may be most damaged by this film is Aubrey Plaza as a gossip journalist slash temptress slash evil mastermind. Her performance falls somewhere between drunk Halloween guest and bitter actress forced to act at a murder mystery birthday party. Oh, and I totally forgot to mention Natalie Emmanuel, which kind of sums it up, frankly. Let me be clear, I do not blame these actors. I think editing can ruin performances, and the editing in Megalopolis, as I already mentioned, is brutal. When you watch the film, it honestly feels like the editors were given irredeemable footage and they tried their best to make sense of it, even including odd split-screen sequences to quicken the pace and add energy, but no matter their effort, they were just putting lipstick on a pig. There are two movies I'm reminded of while watching Megalopolis. 1996's Romeo and Juliet starring Leonardo DiCaprio. That movie shared the older language in current day, but as quirky as that film was, it was an exciting ride through a familiar story. The other film is 2021's Annette, also starring Adam Driver as the father of an opera-singing wooden doll, which I hated, and yet it is still better than this film. My absolute disappointment in Megalopolis places me in a quandary because I'm on record stating that I wish studios would back off and allow filmmakers to create their own original visions, rather than the color-by-numbers studio-produced sequels and remakes we get for the majority of the year. But when I get exactly what I was hoping for, the result is Megalopolis. Perhaps there's a perfect blend somewhere in the middle, because another Jurassic World may not be the answer, but neither is this. For my overall rating, I want to say something positive, so I will mention that the film did something very inventive at one moment by literally having a person with a microphone in the audience interact with a character on the screen, which I had never experienced before, and I respect that. Plus, the film is undeniably ambitious, and though I think it was a swing and a miss, at least he aimed for the fences. Even with those couple positive elements, and Francis Ford Coppola tries to create a hopeful narrative, I just can't give Megalopolis anything higher than a 1 out of 5 stars. And for the first time since 2010, M. Night Shyamalan's The Last Airbender has a competitor for the worst movie I have ever seen. If you have reached the end of this video, I don't want to discourage anyone from watching this film. Go see it and please comment below and convince me I'm wrong. I want this movie to be great, so educate me how I misunderstood this brilliant avant-garde film so I may revisit it and appreciate it, because right now it just makes me sad. It's kind of like watching your favorite athlete ever when he just can't play his sport anymore. And though sometimes he does something right and you applaud, you know you'll never see that magic again. Well, if you enjoyed this review, please take a moment to like this video, subscribe to this channel, and ring the notification bell so you never miss any of my future reviews. Also, you can watch some of my less depressing videos by clicking on one of these boxes.